guys, welcome to the episode of Me. And today I'm Dr. Marc Garcia, is my wife Blanca Garcia, and we're so happy to be in your home to share with you about the table. And so, as we always has a customary thing with Dominion today, we ask a question to kick off the conversation. And that question is, how can we restore the family table? What can we do to restore the family table? We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking about how to restore the table, that time of fellowship, not just the food, not just the meal, but really that time of fellowship. We talked about how at the table is where you are restful, relaxed, vulnerable, you're seeing eye to eye, and more, we're probably going to touch on things, that are logistically or practical. But I also want to just kind of talk about how it's an attitude. It's the tone that you're setting. And so, as we were looking in scripture, a lot of times in the New Testament, it's the leadership of the church that is charged with, there's like lists, having one spouse, not being a drunkard. But then it also says one of the things in there that we saw a lot was be hospitable. Mm-hmm. And so we are more inclined to be hospitable to strangers that come into our home. But to the people that we see day in, day out, we forget to treat them as guests. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need to, maybe that's one of the tones that we need to restore in our home, is treating our family members as guests. And, let's think about the things that we do maybe at home mm-hmm. that we wouldn't do out in public. And it's not because we're trying to be fake, or we believe in being real. We believe in being authentic, yes. But even with all of that, that doesn't mean let yourself go and be, I don't even know what the word is I'm looking for, but, we still need to have manners mm-hmm. with one another.
Yeah, I think, we touched on this a previous episode way back when, and one of the things we were dealing with was actually parenting, and how oftentimes we treat outside people better than we treat our own children, mm-hmm. Which is sad. Mm-hmm. We if we were to treat a brother and a sister in the Lord in the church the way we treat our children, with the lack of respect that we oftentimes treat our children. And I use the word our because we were there. I'm not going to front. We were there. We've learned a lot, especially during going through this foster training process, foster parent training process. But, those are the things that really need to be touched on. Yeah. When you try to establish a new habit in the house, one of the biggest challenges is that change. Mm-hmm. People generally don't like change. Teenagers do not like change. Yeah. They've done things so long the same exact way, and now you're throwing a curve in them. That happens a lot, especially with parents who have grown teen children who now accept the Lord, because they're changing their entire life, and now they expect the child to change their entire life mm-hmm. as well. And it ain't going to happen like that. I'm sorry. I appreciate you, and I understand, the plight and the situation, the challenge that comes with it. But don't expect your child to become saved the same day you become saved. Yeah. And that goes with the understanding of respect, the understanding mm-hmm. of how you treat other people. Yeah. And the table is no different. Yeah. And so when you bring a guest into your house, when you invite somebody to your table, one of the key things is that you treat them with respect and you treat them with honor. Yeah. But also you do the same for your children. Don't let your children be able to say, I wish you treat me like you treated that person. Oof. Because that is probably, for me, that would pierce my heart. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That would pierce my heart to know that my child saw the difference in the way I treated that person that came to my house versus how I treat them. Yes. And notice the difference to such a point that it was so drastic that he or she feels the need to confront me about it. Mm-hmm.
I personally feel a lot of conviction there, and I will explain why. If you've been watching Dominion Today for at least a few episodes, you know that my tone is really calm. I'm really chill. Even people that know me on a day-to-day basis, they ask me, do you ever get mad? Do you ever yell? And I say jokingly, ask my son. And I think specifically because we've been focusing on this in most recent weeks, that's not funny to me anymore. Because my son knows what it is. I mean, he's experienced all levels of Blanca as mom and yelling and not like a crazy lady per se, but still, he knows what it's like to hear me escalate my voice and my tone and my attitude and my demeanor. And for whatever reason, I felt like I had the right to get that way. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I used to say it jokingly, and I am so convicted that's not funny to me anymore. We looked up the definition to hospitable or hospitality, and it is promising a generous and friendly welcome, offering a pleasant environment. Hospitality was not Martha Stewart's idea. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Martha Stewart. You brought a lot of wisdom, but
is that Martha Stewart post-jail or pre-jail?
Either. I'm sure she brought a lot of hospitality to the correctional facility. But hospitality was born in the heart of God. Yes. Because when Adam and Eve, with the Garden of Eden, he prepared a place for them, And so now when my son comes, it's a totally different dynamic. Mm-hmm. We actually had him and my mom over recently. It was my mom's birthday. And we were able to all be together for a meal. And it was a completely different experience, I did not yell. Mm-hmm. There was no need for me to yell. And even if there was, I'm more relaxed now, thank God.
I think for me, one of the best ways to show hospitality is to service, to be a servant to the person that comes over. I think the situation of Mary and Martha gets a bad rap. Per se, because they say, oh well, why are you always in the kitchen when you got a guest over? Well, quite frankly, he's not Messiah. I'm sitting at my table. I love you, I appreciate you, whoever it is, but you're not the Messiah. And so I appreciate that fellowship. I appreciate that, mm-hmm. But recognize the service, recognize the servanthood that's being demonstrated. Mm-hmm. And so that goes along even with children and parents, because we had our foster children here, and we made an effort, or at least I know I did personally, mentally. Probably for you it just came natural, but for me, I had to make an effort to be serviceable to the young girls that were here and service them and to help them through that process. And
you gotta let me say, right? I just want to brag on you for a second. So, back in the day, Mark would not have gone out of his way. Like, if this is what was prepared as a meal, this is what we were going to eat. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like it, so sorry. Yeah, this is what's for dinner. Mm-hmm. But with the girls coming into our home, we were really open to saying, we totally understand that you're probably not going to like it. Can we make something else?
Mm-hmm. And even offer the fact. And even the fact that I would even share with them, and this is off on a tangent, but just to share it, share with them and tell them, hey, if you're full, you don't have to finish everything in the plate. Yeah. Say you're full and that's it. Yeah. It's okay. You can not have to finish the plate that's in front of you. But even at that, there are also things that I did, like cut up hot dogs and
make a peanut butter sandwich. You don't understand how serious that is, how much love it is. You're thinking, oh, peanut butter sandwich, no big deal. I can make that. For a man that despises peanut butter.
Peanut butter, for me, the smell makes me gag. And so for me to make peanut butter and jelly sandwich for these young girls, and cut off the crust and cut it off and cut it so that they can make it biteable size. Honestly, the biteable sizes was for me housekeeping, because I knew if I gave them the whole sandwich, it would be a mess. And I know if I cut it in pieces, they're biteable. They just pop it in the mouth type thing, and we're good to go. I don't have to clean up a whole bunch of stuff. But either way, again, back to the service. We have to make sure that if you want your table to be a place of fellowship, you have to be serviceable. You have to look out for your guests. You have to make sure, and when I use the word guests, or we use the word guests, include your children, because you are, the head of the household. You and your wife, or vice versa, or just the mom, or just the dad, whoever it is. If it's single family, whatever it needs to be. But that is the key right there. Make sure that you are being serviceable. You're servicing them as guests. You're honoring them. You're honoring exactly how they should be honored as a person in your home.
Yeah, we've come a long way. We've come a long way. Yeah, and we would often say to ourselves, "Who am I?"
Yeah, I'd often say to her, I'd say, like, if Ricky was to see exactly what I'm doing, he's like, "That is not my dad. That is not the dad I grew up with." Yeah, and he's right. It's not. Yeah. No lies. We're allowed to grow up too,
right? Yep. We're allowed to grow up too. So again, hospitality was an important characteristic for a leader in the kingdom of God. So much so that God would point it out. Preparing to be at the table, why not make it a team effort? Maybe little kids can't be partakers in preparing the meal, but they can put napkins out. They can distribute forks. They can put out paper plates if you don't trust them with real plates. There's a variety of things that we can do to prepare them.
Let's take a break, and we'll be right back after this.
So high school was supposed to be fun, right? What I personally didn't anticipate was any type of rejection, and maybe right now things are not turning out the way that you expected. At the age of 17, I found myself in love for the first time. When it's toxic, it's good, and then it's toxic, that's called dating violence. I found out that I was pregnant. I was homeless, and from chaos, that faint plus sign turned into a sign of hope for me. Maybe Unplanned is a book I wrote really for the 17-year-old me. Remember that life is not over. It's only going to be different than you imagined it.
Hey guys, welcome back to the meeting today. Before we went into the break, I mentioned something about Mary and Martha, and how it gets a bad rap. That whole situation, and I used the word, used it kind of flippantly, that you're not the Messiah sitting there. Well, I want to give a little context. Let me explain myself a little bit more. What if, and I'm going to just submit it to you, you do what you need to do to study it out. What if Martha's gifting was actually service, and Mary's gifting was to sit down at Jesus' feet and get the word that she needs? What if Martha didn't need to get the word that Mary needed? And Mary received what she needed to receive. Jesus said it. But what if Martha was there specifically to service? To offer service to an honored guest. Now, maybe even Martha didn't understand it, as you see in the story, because she got a little jealous about what Mary was doing, and Mary wasn't doing anything. And Jesus had to confront that situation. But what if, again, I'm just going to submit it to you, what if Martha was actually called specifically to prepare the meal for the Messiah? And if she was to sit with Mary, it would never have happened.
Yeah. There have been times in ministry where, especially early on, I needed to be in the front row at every altar call. I needed people to lay hands on me and pray for me. And I'm not saying I don't need those things now, but now I feel like when an altar call is given, I don't feel the need to run up. I feel the need to support the people that go up, support them in prayer. There are times where I have been the person that has needed to be at the feet of Jesus because I so desperately needed validation, direction, healing. And then there have been times where I've been perfectly happy being in the background and serving and cleaning up or doing whatever needed to be done so that other people could enjoy.
Well, you enjoyed it first.
Yeah, a time of ministry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of what we're talking about is understand where the gift lies, understand where the need is when a guest comes over, and that includes your children. You know what I'm saying? If you know that your child has a need to receive some attention from you, well then maybe you need to plan the dinner menu a little bit appropriately so that you can accommodate that, as well as be serviceable and provide the meal that needs to be provided to your child, right? And so that's the whole gambit of bringing that level of fellowship and making sure. See, because you'd never want to fellowship with someone that doesn't want to service you. It's just a simple case. Jim, he's working behind the cameras right now. You don't see him. You've probably never seen him on our show, but he works behind the cameras, and that's his gifting, and he understands that, and we understand that, and then it works out very, very well. But in the fact that he's servicing and he's being serviceable, being a servant attitude with us, I have no problem sitting across the table and having lunch with him and fellowshipping with him, and it's been a while since we've done it, but Friday we used to do Friday prayers and go out to the lake and pray together. I have no problem doing that because I've seen his heart as a servant. So it doesn't. There's no hindrance there. There's no Jim needs to prove something to me. There's no I need to prove something to Jim. Because of that servant relationship that we have together, we're able to go beyond that and be friends, essentially. Yeah.
And just kind of circling back around to the idea of how can we restore the table, again, this is the opportunity in essence where you get to, specifically with your kids, but enter a discipling relationship with them, where you can have very intentional conversation. You can ask them questions. We always ask questions because we want it to provoke thought, and we want it to even challenge the way that we think. God, I know that for me personally, when God asks me a question and I just feel that in my heart, I know it's because he's coming to expose something or challenge something that I believed before. So even as we're talking with our family members, if we put a question on the table, we may think, oh, this is what they think about X topic. But as we get going and as we're talking, we're like, whoa, I didn't know that you felt that way. I didn't know that you thought that about that subject. And, it's a place where you can talk about your family history or even play fun games like, okay, taste this. How many ingredients do you think is in this? I remember there was a time where we were, I don't know if we were taking a road trip or we were just in the car, and there was, I think, instrumental classical music playing, and you asked Ricky, how many instruments are playing? And so he had to be really intentional about listening to, okay, I hear this sound, I hear this sound, I hear that sound. And just like you, when you're trying to figure out what is in a food, you're thinking, okay, it's got this, it's got cinnamon, it's got vanilla. Oh, I think I taste, orange or something in there. That's just kind of, fun stuff. But the word does specify in 1 Peter 4:9, to show hospitality without grumbling. Actually, the verse before it says, above all, keep loving one another earnestly, since love covers a multitude of sins. And then it says, show hospitality to one another without grumbling. So what if one of the ways that you show love is by being hospitable, by entertaining, by setting up an atmosphere that is enjoyable to your guests?
I think that's probably right? The nail on the head, if you will. I was trying to think of the phrase. I was thinking in Spanish. The nail on the head, and it's the nail on the head because of the simple fact that we tend to oftentimes not grumble about a friend coming over, but grumble about the kids coming to the table. Grumble about the responsibilities, the weight of everything in our lives. And I'm not telling you it's not real. I'm not telling you to skirt it. I'm not trying to tell you to ignore it, because you can't ignore it. It is real. We understand that. What I'm recommending to you is that the weight does not come to the table. Mm-hmm. Allow the table to be Switzerland. Allow it to be neutral. Allow it to be a place to where people can share opinions without being judged, where people can have conversations. I remember at our table in North Carolina, Ricky started asking questions about the Muslim religion. Mm. And at that time in our lives, we took it personal. Mm. We took it personal, and it was offensive to us. Mm-hmm. And then I think probably 2 days later, the Lord dealt with us, and we started to change our mind. We didn't encourage our son to become Muslim, so don't think that. Mm-hmm. But we understood that it's okay for him to have questions about the faith. That's the only way he's going to grow in that faith. And so allow your children, allow the ones that are closest to you, question things that you hold dear. Mm-hmm. Because without it, then it's not really a conviction. If it can't stand a question, that's not really conviction. It's just a simple thought, an opinion. When it's conviction, it can stand the weight of a question. Yeah. When it's something that you hold dear to you because you know it to be true and there's nothing that can change you, then it can withstand the weight of a difficult question and you'll be able to explain it. Mm-hmm. Or if not, you can't explain it right then and there, you'll be able to study it out and explain it. Either way, the result of the latter will be greater because now you have a clearer understanding. And not only can you explain it to your child sitting across from you, but you can exchange it to somebody at work. Mm-hmm. That has the same exact question. Yeah. What is it that you Christians do that, I don't understand what you guys do that, why you guys do that? Mm-hmm. Why you give your money to the preacher? And if you don't really understand, you'll take it personally and get offended. Yeah. I won't give my money to the preacher. That's not the way to respond. That's not the way you're going to win that person over. Yeah. Now I'm not telling you to skirt it again. Understand what I'm trying to tell you. You need to make sure that the table becomes a place, specifically the table, that, like she said, becomes a place of not only fellowship but also discipleship for you as well as your guests. Yeah. Allow yourself to be molded at the table just like you expect them to be molded at the table. For sure. And we've even talked about the table being like a family altar. We've heard other people reference it that way as well. And sometimes we think of the term family altar and we think of something really solemn and super spiritual and we've all got to be huddled and praying, and not necessarily. It's not either or, but it's both and. And what if the dining room table was that altar where you could, just present things, have things challenged. If, you're talking, if that conviction can't be tested, if this word can't be tested, then is it a really strong word to be believed in? Believed in, yes, absolutely. To be stood upon. And no, you need to change it. Absolutely. And, I talked about how in the last episode, food was a big part of our courting. Mm-hmm. Because for you to prepare a meal for me, that was a big deal, in my opinion. And the fact that you made me like something that I didn't think that I liked before, the care that you took to prepare the meal for me was a big deal. Definitely, it expressed love to me. And, even on the flip side of the coin, for me to make my best effort to prepare a meal was a big deal for me, because your best and my best, I'm going to admit, it wasn't, we were on different levels, for sure. Even at that, it wasn't a red flag for me. Maybe a yellow one, but not a red flag.
I'm not going to die.
Proceed with caution.
Yeah.
So really what we're talking about, guys, and we're going to bring this to kind of a culmination here, but what we're talking about is really taking your table, taking your home, taking the opportunity to look at your table and set it up to where you dictate how and what is going to be sacrificed on that altar. And it can be incorrect wisdom that you may have. It can be incorrect wisdom that your children may have. It may, and invite guests over that allow you to be sharpened. Allow you to sharpen them. You know, there's a relationship there that's built there. There's what she actually calls, I'm going to steal it from her, relationship equity. There's investment there that you can have those candid conversations, those challenging conversations over, a meal, over a cup of coffee. And again, if you're a leader, I'm going to encourage you all over again. Get with your people and have fellowship with them. Have a coffee with them and one-on-one, and really get to know them. You'll be able to see something maybe that you didn't see a long time ago. And so.
And can I just say these 3 words that I keep hearing over and over again? Meet me at the altar.
That's good. That's good. And there's no better way to close it. That's her call to action. Just go ahead and tell people, let's meet at the altar. And then you can explain to them, my altar is the table in my home. I want to prepare a meal for you. I want to honor you. I want to bring you to my home and build upon our relationship that I believe God has ordained. And so until next time, you're blessed. I love you. We appreciate you. And as we always say in Dominion today,
God created you for dominion today.
You're blessed.